Sean Strickland shocked the world when he dominated one of the greatest middleweight champions of all time for 5 whole rounds. From being considered a journeyman of the UFC to being the fighter of the year in 2023 with 3 incredible performances, Sean's fortunes seem to have changed in a matter of months. But we need to talk about what happened to Sean Strickland. Why did he get so triggered when fighters mentioned his dark past? And what happened that made him cry during a podcast? From his traumatic childhood to a catastrophic motorcycle accident that almost ended his MMA career, this is the story of the most unlikeliest of UFC champions. Sean Strickland's roots trace back to Corona, California, where his early years were marred by the shadows of an abusive father. His childhood home was a battleground, and the scars of those dark times are very evident in his personality, even today. From a young age, he endured harrowing threats and violence from his father, saying, "I remember hugging my mom's leg, pre-elementary school. My dad, all drunk, telling my mom, 'I'm gonna cut you up into little pieces, bury you in the backyard in a bottle of acid.'" Sean's escape from this dark reality came through MMA. Despite initially dismissing the sport as dumb, he found peace and purpose within the confines of the sport. The trauma inflicted by his father became the driving force behind his passion for MMA, where he would channel his emotions and find strength in vulnerability, saying, "I like hurting people. It's one of those weird things where it's like your psychological makeup allows you to like it." Despite the brutality of the sport, it became a therapeutic outlet for him. MMA became Sean's refuge, a place where he could confront his demons and emerge stronger. At the age of 18, Sean decided it was time to confront the source of his torment, his abusive father. In a moment of courage, Sean headbutt and broke his father's nose. While Sean expected his father to hit him back and retaliate, what followed was unexpected. His father instead broke down in tears, defeated. The once feared boogeyman of his life was reduced to nothing but a disappointment. This moment marked a new beginning for Sean and his mother. They cut ties with the toxic past, paving the way for Sean to immerse himself in his MMA career. This incident was one of the most important points in life because it propelled him to take his fighting career more seriously. By this point, Sean was already a professional MMA fighter with a remarkable journey. His professional debut and first win at just 17 set the stage for a promising career. In the King of the Cage organization, he remained undefeated, claiming the middleweight championship in 2012. Defending the title 3 times, Sean caught the attention of the UFC, where he made his debut on March 15, 2014 against Bubba McDaniel, securing a victory via a rear naked choke submission. He went on an impressive run in the UFC where he won 7 out of the next 10 fights. However, what happened next almost ended his career before he could even make it to the upper echelon of the division. In December 2018, Sean Strickland faced a catastrophic motorcycle accident, almost ending his career. Riding home after a training session, a van collided with him at over 45 miles per hour, leaving him with severe injuries, including a torn patella, kneecap displacement, and a quadricep tear. Sean, unconscious for hours, underwent immediate emergency surgery, and the result was grim. He was told he might never compete in MMA professionally again. But Sean wasn't one to give up on his love for MMA so easily. He embarked on his journey to recovery. And if you think he wasn't serious about making a comeback, he actually started sparring 12 weeks after shattering his kneecap into pieces in the accident. Sean's journey was fraught with doubt, like it had always been. While the doctors advised him to give up on the sport and to avoid further injuries, the UFC Performance Institute became a beacon of hope, offering support and encouragement when others doubted, saying, "Let me just tell you this. Every doctor I talked to said I shouldn't fight again. The only ones that were really supportive of me coming back to the gym and coming back to fight were all the people at the UFC Performance Institute." Despite being advised to focus solely on recovery, Sean Strickland pressed on. Boxing with a straight leg brace, he adapted to the limitations imposed by his injuries. The belief in himself wavered at times, yet the fighter within him refused to yield. I mean, there's a guy, Nick Newell, who fights with one effing arm and he does it well. Michael Bisping won the title with one frickin' eye. I got a leg that works. Not the best, but it works. You can't just be a bitch your whole life. It's not like Sean wasn't worried about his health either. He did admit having doubts, grappling with the aftermath of such a life-changing accident. Even he questioned his ability to return to the octagon at times. Yet Sean drew inspiration from fighters who overcame physical adversity, finding strength in their triumphs. He said, "I have nobody else to blame. I was on a motorcycle. I was an effing idiot. I did it. So at the end of the day, it's like I did this to myself. I made my bed and it sucks, but you only live once." Slowly, Sean began to regain a better range of motion in his surgically repaired leg. Training became less of a struggle, and the dream of stepping into the octagon once again started to feel more tangible. The 12-month mark brought a renewed sense of belief, a realization that the hard work, the pain, and the sacrifices were paying off. After about a year, I started thinking to myself, I can feel better again. I can do this. Something will happen where I'll have a bad day, or I'll wake up and my knee is throbbing and it will set me back. But for the most part of my life, humans are capable of so much, and a lot of our limitations are what we put on ourselves. With newfound optimism, Sean Strickland reached out to the UFC, who signed him to this return fight against Jack Marshman at UFC Vegas 12. In the face of doubt, pain, and the specter of career-ending accident, Sean Strickland emerged victorious. He said, "I'm grateful that I can still do it. I'm grateful to the UFC to let me get back in there after 2 years off. It feels good. I'm not having to say welcome to Walmart, paper or plastic." Now, what defines Sean Strickland's fighting style is a unique blend of boxing, reminiscent of Mayweather, coupled with some exceptional defense. His approach is deceptively simple. Jabs and 1-2s, gradually wearing down opponents with relentless punches. Now, while Sean may not possess one-punch knockout power, his persistent attacks have brought down some of the best contenders in the world of MMA. After winning 7 of his last 9 fights. When the reigning middleweight champion at the time needed a challenger, Sean stepped up to the plate. Sean was considered by many as a sacrificial lamb for the Australian crowd in attendance. But if there is one thing Sean taught us so far, is that he never quits on himself. Many think standing toe-to-toe with a legendary kickboxer like Adesanya is like challenging a rocket to a race. But that night in Sydney, Sean seemed to have figured out in the final moments of the fight. Sean Strickland challenged Adesanya to a playground brawl. An unconventional, the underdog was now the top dog of the UFC. For his first title defense, Sean was set to defend his title at UFC 297 in January. And boy, was the build-up for this fight something. Sean Strickland is probably the most outspoken champion in UFC history, so naturally he has had his fair share of clapbacks from his opponents. One such clapback happened recently when at the UFC's seasonal press conference, he got into verbal warfare with his opponent Dricus du Plessis. Du Plessis, however, managed to flip the script. He brought up Strickland's dark past and managed to hit a nerve. The verbal volley escalated as du Plessis vowed to make Strickland relive every childhood memory through their upcoming fight. The normally composed and laughing Sean Strickland, unaccustomed to being on the receiving end of such personal remarks, found himself visibly bothered.
Piece of shit out of you.
I will take your fucking soul, you understand me, you fucking pussy?
Yeah, oh, I got a nerve. I see I hit a nerve there.
Yeah, you did hit a nerve, you bitch.
The comments affected Sean to such an extent that at the very next day during the UFC 296 event, he jumped du Plessis and got into a physical altercation. The MMA community has mixed feelings about Sean's response. Strickland has never been someone to mince his words and has been outspoken on every topic. When du Plessis flipped the script on him, Sean's demeanor completely changed. While many like Henry Cejudo criticized Strickland, saying if you can't take it, don't dish it, others defended Strickland, saying no one should relive the trauma that Sean has been through. To explain just how toxic and dark his childhood was, Sean Strickland shared a candid conversation between him and his late father on X, saying, "My dad dying of cancer. Sean, I know I wasn't the best to you, but at least I didn't molest you." 100% true conversation shared Strickland on X in response to a fan cracking a crass joke about Strickland's father. Similarly, in a revealing podcast conversation with Brendan Schaub, Strickland shared a dark chapter of his life, recounting an incident where his father contemplated suicide. Strickland, at the tender age of 17, shocking to some, told his father to go through with it.
My dad was laying in bed one day, with a 45. I fucking walked up, he was talking about suicide, and I was like, "Dad, you should fucking do it. You know, you should fucking do it."
So this just gives a glimpse into the depths of the turmoil within Strickland's family. With a past like that, it's apparent why Sean took offense to Dracus' comments. A few days after the incident, Sean appeared on the Theo Von podcast, where he started crying when his traumatic past was brought up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, bud.
So, man.
I'm sorry, buddy.
That's all good, dude.
Despite being the middleweight champion at the time, the demons of his past made even the champion sob uncontrollably.